Today we're chatting about giraffes, wine, and Snoopy. Follow us to Santa Rosa.
Welcome to Vacation Mavens, a family travel podcast with ideas for your next vacation and tips to get you out the door. Here are your hosts, Kim from Stuffed Suitcase and Tamara from We Three Travel.
Today's episode is brought to you by Allianz Travel. We all travel for different reasons, some to get closer as a family and some to get away from it all, some to discover new sounds, new tastes, and others to discover themselves. No matter your reason, Allianz Travel Insurance is the ultimate wingman, having your back while helping you make the most of every moment. True experts providing protection for all the reasons you travel. Visit ALLIANZTravelInsurance.com and see what award-winning travel insurance can do for your next trip. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Plans underwritten by Jefferson Insurance Company or BCS Insurance Company. AGA Service Company is the licensed producer and administrator of these plans.
So, Tamara, October is a big month for the wine area of California because it's kind of considered crush season, right?
It is. I was out there one time where Glenn and I actually got to stomp grapes, which was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, well, we went out there and we kind of had a little bit of a taste of wine tasting, but we also were looking at Santa Rosa, California, and how it works for a family vacation. So we did get a little bit of wine tasting, but we also had some fun little family activities without the kids. So we got to be good kids ourselves, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed hugging Snoopy and being a kid.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoyed zip lining and, getting to go on a little safari ride.
And the good thing was, if the kids were there, they would have wanted to sit on top of the truck on the safari ride, and we wouldn't have gotten the good seats. So.
Yeah, we did score with that. So nice. Well, we should let all of our listeners know kind of what we did while we spent. How many days were we there? 4 days or 5 days?
Yeah,
4 days.
About
right?
4 days.
Yeah,
in Santa Rosa.
Yeah, so we flew into San Francisco, we should say, to start with, because it was, a good destination for you to get into nonstop. And then it was about, an hour and a half or so north?
Yeah, about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, the nice thing is, I think if you are West Coast based, Santa Rosa does have its own airport, which is right there in the middle of everything. And it's so simple and easy to do. But for me, coming from the East Coast, it was certainly easier just to go direct into San Francisco.
Yeah, I know that Santa Rosa is supposed to be a pretty cute, really small, easy airport to navigate around. And but it is a little bit more money, I think. So, if you are looking for that budget steal of a deal getting into San Francisco, you might find some better deals, because I know both you and I flew into San Francisco for really cheap, and then we rented our car for, I think I paid $184, so not bad at all. And we got to go across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes, which is always a bonus. I love it. It's just, I don't know what it is about that bridge, but I always just get so excited when I see it.
Yeah, I know from the air, I see it quite often, when I'm flying in that area. And it's so small compared to the other one, like the Oakland or Bay Bridge or whatever. There's another big long one that goes across. And I think, wow, it's funny how this one's the one that became so famous.
It's that red color.
Yeah.
We should probably tell people a little bit where Santa Rosa is, because I think now they know it's north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
But it's really in the heart of Sonoma Valley. So if you are looking for a wine destination, I think the couples and things will go to Napa. But Sonoma, I know I've found, is much friendlier towards families. So even if you do want to build in a little wine tasting, Sonoma is more the side of it. And, there's a lot of towns in this area. There's Sonoma, there's Healdsburg, and Gurneville, all these different towns. But Santa Rosa is kind of the largest of them and pretty much in the center. So it's a good kind of home base for exploring that area.
Which is what they had us do. I mean, I felt like every day we kind of took a little bit of a drive, not too bad, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And then our final evening, we got to do a pretty cool wine experience, which was in the heart of Santa Rosa. So I agree. I think it's a good jumping off point for families that are looking to expand. And for families, they definitely, some of the places we stayed, they had a couple of more budget friendly options if you are looking, to go visit wine country, but you don't have the $400 to $500 a night to spend on some of the mid-level upscale places, then they do have a few options in Santa Rosa for you.
So do you think we should walk through our itinerary?
Yeah.
Or how do you want to do it?
Okay. I think that would be good because we left. We already told everyone we flew into San Francisco and we drove up. And our first activity was on the way before we even went to check in. And we went to probably one of the most famous winemakers in the region, and that's Kendall Jackson.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I feel like one of the first wines I ever drank was Kendall Jackson. But it was, what was nice about it is they do have a beautiful tasting room and an outdoor patio, which in October, the weather is just so nice. Mm-hmm. So to be able to sit outside, I think also for you, in the Pacific Northwest and me in the Northeast, where it's starting to get a little bit cool, to be able to sit out in the sun and just enjoy that, was nice. But we did a wine and cheese pairing, which I think is, a step up from your traditional tasting. Yeah,
it definitely looked like, when we walked in, they have a gorgeous, really like vaulted ceiling, elaborate tasting room. And it was definitely hopping. I mean, they had parties at every side of the 4 bar top tasting bar. And then, but if you sign up for either, they have a wine and cheese tasting, or they also have a wine and meal tasting course, and you can sign up and do those. And instead of being at the bar, then they take you out to their patio and you're kind of served up. What did they give us? 6 or 7 wines? And then they brought out a little plate of a certain type of cheese and a certain little accoutrement, like accompaniment with the cheese and the wine that was supposed to all go together. And so that was kind of a cool experience. And it was a great way to start off, I think, a day in the wine region. I certainly, coming from Seattle, appreciated the sunshine.
Yeah. I think I was just struggling because I was sick that whole time. And so I was coming off of very little sleep, a long flight, and feeling like my head was going to explode. Yeah. And then I'm there like trying to taste the wine and cheese. And I'm like, Kim, I'm really going to have to rely on you for the tasting notes here because, I can't tell.
Yeah. And I feel like Jackson, Kendall Jackson is just one of those, it's kind of, nothing really stands out to me. Everything was fine and good and tasty. Nothing that stood out to me because I think it's just one of those tried and true places, but it definitely was a nice experience to kick off our evening, our trip.
Yeah, especially because then we went to something so different.
So different. Not at all what you would expect in the wine region. And that was, we went to Safari West, which is definitely probably one of the title attractions for Sonoma and Santa Rosa for families, I think, definitely.
Yeah, I remember learning about this a few years ago, and I was kind of shocked to think that there's a safari-like experience in wine country. But basically, it's this 400-acre preserve that's privately owned, and there are, I forget how many animals, but definitely a lot of different types of African mammals and birds and other types of animals on property. But what's unique about it is, in addition to doing tours where you can book a tour and they drive you through on a safari vehicle to see all the different animals, there's also glamping tents, so you can stay on property. And you and I both done a little bit of glamping. I think we both like it. So that was a cool kind of, I think it's cool for families or for girls' trips.
I agree. Yeah. And we were there and I saw both. I saw families, and then we also saw a bunch of, middle-aged women that were there as a girls' trip and enjoying it. It seemed like more like multi-gen, all the women, like grandma and daughters and mother and stuff were all enjoying their time. And
I was like, you realize we're one of those middle-aged women.
We are.
Right?
We're one of those middle-aged women ourselves. Yeah. But I loved the glamping experience there. It definitely got cold. That was the big thing that I was kind of shocked at. And that was what everyone was complaining about too, because we were there when they were having kind of overnight cold spells. But even though they had a heater and then heating blankets on the beds, it still did definitely get chilly. But different than even just normal camping or normal glamping that I've done before, I thought the bathroom and even, they have a real front door. It's not just the zipper closures. So it's a little bit more of a permanent feel than maybe even what I've been used to when I've glamped it under the canvas.
Yeah. And they said that these tents are imported from Botswana. Yeah. So They were what, was used in probably some luxury camp there. But yeah, definitely very nice, and a nice door to the bathroom as well.
Yeah.
And I can't say anything about the shower because it was way too cold in the morning to take a shower.
Yeah.
But we did notice that it didn't have like a pull chain, like it was a regular turn on the water. So that was good.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. And then the other nice thing is that it is, first of all, where we had a great little view of the giraffe enclosure area, but we had our meals provided while we were there. So that's really fun. And you just kind of go down to it's a buffet style restaurant, and we had dinner and breakfast there.
It was kind of funny at night though, when we were, trying to sleep. And I mean, I will say the beds were super comfortable. So
yeah,
it wasn't really a problem, but you could hear various animals, and it's just kind of funny to like lay there and listen to that. I mean, it wasn't like the roar of a lion, but there were some animals that were like, what is that? We learned that lemurs are really loud and really make interesting noises, right?
Yeah, the lemurs. And then there was some bird. And when we were on the tour the next morning, our tour guide was saying, that's what you guys heard all night last night, So some bird that made a lot of loud noises too. So yeah, I feel like I heard the lemurs and the birds the most.
And I will say that, I know a lot of people are hesitant about a facility like this, but they are AZA, which is American Zoo Association, right? They are accredited. And as we were going through the next day, we learned so much about how they are caring for their animals. And I was kind of blown away, like how many times they're changing, I don't want to say the toys, but like the things that the animals have to interact with so that they're always stimulated and having different experience, and the very, computerized matching for the breeding program. And just a lot of thought that's going into, the conservation and things like that. So while it probably initially started as a collection, it's certainly not that now, Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing that stood out to me that, I do have to give a nod to and kind of consider is that their goal is conservation. And the idea is that they want to prevent extinction of any African animals. And by contributing to a healthy population, even if it's in captivity, they can help prevent, extinction. So it's an interesting thought to see the passion that people have for that kind of conservation. So it's definitely another side of the story. So we stayed overnight there, had breakfast in the morning, and then we went on the big tour, which, as Tamara already mentioned, you can book separately. But if you stay on property, it's part of the, part of the package that comes with it. And how long was it? It was about a 3-hour tour.
Yeah, about 3 hours, because part of it was walking, and then you got onto these retrofitted vehicles, which are, made for safari viewing. So, and it's nice too, because everyone pretty much has a good view, you know, and you do get a chance to, there are a couple seats like up top, almost like on the roof, and you do have a chance to switch in and out and go up there as well.
But you have to be a certain size.
Height. Yeah.
So if little kids want to ride up top, they have to be a certain size. So they have a thing that you can measure at where you load on so that you can make sure, you're tall enough and don't get too excited. But yeah, nobody sat up there. And so then Tamara and I at one point we were like, okay, we'll go ahead and go up here then. And we'd kind of missed it because we went with the giraffes and one came right up to the vehicle and was like, looking around, and Tamara and I both were thinking, man, I wish we were up top now.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah. But yeah, we saw a lot of different animals. So we saw giraffes and then wildebeest and cake buffalo, right? Cake?
Orcs.
Yeah.
Orcs? Is that how you pronounce it, right?
I think so, yeah.
Zebra.
Yeah,
there were so many.
Yeah. And then rhinos. They have 2 rhinos actually, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Yeah, and they have to have special cameras and stuff because of crazy people. But yeah. So anyway, so that was kind of the big start for our trip. And after breakfast and our tour there, we headed back out to a fun little lunch experience. It was kind of just near, not too far off the highway. So it made it a good kind of spot to reconnect and get ready to go on your next adventure.
Yeah, we had lunch at the Rivervine Cafe, which is on the grounds of the Vintners Inn, which I think would be a really nice option if you are doing a girls' trip out there.
Yeah.
Like if you could even do one night of glamping and then, a night or two at the Vintners Inn, because that also has a really nice spa on property.
Yeah.
So that would be a nice kind of duo if you wanted to match those up.
It seemed though it was interesting because it definitely seems like it's one of those spas where it's like almost a medical spa, not necessarily just a day spa. So you can get your Botox while you're getting your pedicure maybe. But yeah, so from there after lunch, we headed over to another one of the most famous attractions for Santa Rosa, and something I was really excited about. And that is the Charles Shultz Museum, which, for people who don't know, that is the artist that is responsible for the Peanuts gang.
Yeah, so apparently didn't like the name Peanuts.
Yeah.
He wanted to call it like good old Charlie Brown.
Yep.
And so it was so interesting to see both his hand-drawn work and just the progression of the characters.
Yeah.
And I thought they had some really cool exhibits because they kind of take a theme. Like they had one right now that was about Woodstock, the music festival.
Yeah.
And it was like, how did Woodstock, the bird, get his name? And then, but it was all kind of related to that. And then I think next year they're going to do one about women, right?
Yeah.
Like a feminist kind of one. And so it's kind of neat how they curate that. And the space is beautiful too.
The space is beautiful, and they have some beautiful artwork. They have a big mural on the wall that is a picture of like Chuck and Charlie Brown, and the mural is made up of individual little like 4-piece clips, and the artist combined all those clips of different Snoopy or different Peanuts comics and created this larger mural that covers a whole like 2-story wall. And I thought that was really awesome. And I was also impressed by seeing the actual size that Charles Schultz would draw, that he made for the cartoons. Like, you never really think about how those get drawn, but the museum actually has the actual
The
originals. Thank you. I was like, what's that word? The originals of what he submitted. And sometimes you can even see how he folded it and stuck it in the mail to mail it off to the newspaper. So it's pretty cool to see what he actually did. And I had never even thought, but he did all the hand lettering, like all the speech bubbles, the lettering, he did it all himself by hand, which
that blew me away.
Yeah, that is amazing.
It's so unique, but so consistent. So it's almost like he created his own font and he wrote it over and over and over again, which to have that level of like precision in it, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's not like there was a whole bunch of lines that he would draw to keep it straight. I think he just was amazing at freehanding, so it's pretty cool. I mean, pretty amazing. I'm sure there's a font you can probably buy, like a Peanuts font or, Charles Schultz font now, But yeah, it was, I thought that was great.
Kids definitely will love it too, because there are a couple like little places where you can have a photo op, like climb on Snoopy's doghouse and things like that. And upstairs, there's, as you would expect, like a whole big art room where they do programs. But you can also just go in there and take, whatever drawing utensils and start drawing. It has little booklets on like how to draw this or how to draw that, and so. Really, definitely fun for kids. Yeah, they have the books there that show you like how to draw Snoopy or how to draw, and so that's pretty cool that they provide those and kids can just look at that. And then they had that little patio area outside that would probably be great for lunch and stuff, but we walked across the street and that's another area that would be, I think, great for families. And they have an ice skating rink. It was under renovation when we were there, but I just feel like that would be a perfect little afternoon daybreak for families, is go do some ice skating. They have a little lunch cafe there that has the typical, cafe food that you see at basic places, but they had some fun little names that are all Peanuts themed. Yeah, wasn't it like the Warm Puppy Cafe? Yeah, the Warm Puppy. That's right. I think that's right. And then they have a gift shop with like all kind of retro Peanuts gear. You got very excited about, what was it, like the snow cone machine? Yeah, I had that as a kid. I cannot tell you how many days I spent making Snoopy, making snow cones with my little Snoopy house snow cone machine. It's the best thing ever. Yeah. And we didn't go to it, but I also very close to there is a children's museum too.
Right.
So I feel like you can definitely do a full day in downtown Santa Rosa because there are a lot of good restaurants and, it's very walkable. There's a couple of little shops. I remember even walking by like a children's clothing store, and there's a Barnes and Noble, and you've got the Children's Museum and Charles Schultz Museum. So
and it was free
plenty.
parking at the Charles Schultz Museum. So you can just park and then wander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Covered too.
Yeah, exactly. With solar panels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was all, I think that was great, and
it was a big day for us there.
Yeah, it was.
Our second day.
And we left the Safari West. Of course, we had checked out that day, and then we went and they put us up because for families, they thought this would be a good thing to feature. And they put us at a Sandman Inn in Santa Rosa, and it was right on like kind of the main drag of Santa Rosa, I feel like in some ways. And it is just your typical like refurbed motel, but it's got a really great pool scene. It looks like when we checked in, we saw a lot of kids that were playing there. And for the adults, they've got a bar at the pool. So you can enjoy a nice drink while your kids play in the water.
Which is, surprising to find at a place that looks like a motel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But also next door to that, they had like a little bocce area. And at night they had those, the string lights like over it. So I don't know if they had fire pits there or not, but it was definitely like a little hangout area. Definitely like, a step up from, what it probably used to be back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, even though it's like it's a motel, like building wise, you can tell that they've done a lot of trying to just make it cozy and welcoming for families and be an affordable option in Santa Rosa for people to, stay at. So I think that was good.
Yeah. And then that night we actually headed up to the northern part of Sonoma Valley to the Francis Ford Coppola winery, which I've been to before when I was actually there with Glenn and Hannah, and we played bocce ball there and did some wine tasting. But this time we went for dinner.
Yeah, I was excited because, again, it's one of those famous names that everyone hears about. And I've heard people talking about the Francis Ford Coppola winery as being, like one of the best places for families just because it's got like a pool. And I think there's some kind of like petting zoo, or isn't there something like that around there? I don't know, but they've got a few things that draw kids in. And so I always have kind of heard about it. So I was glad that we went. But I think the thing that I was most amazed with, if it would have been warmer, I would have been out on that patio. They have an amazing patio that just has beautiful, sunset lighting and overlooks the winery vineyards. So I think it's really gorgeous on a nice day.
Yeah. And then if you are traveling with teens or someone that's a movie buff, you can look at a lot of the, would you say memorabilia? I don't know, like the collection of things that were used in a lot of his movies. So I get to see the, models or original this or that, a car, there's clothing and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's kind of a little museum with movie memorabilia, and then, as we said, a pool, and I don't know what else they have, but I know that they've got quite a few other things. So I think you could spend a day there and then finish with go in an afternoon and then finish with dinner if you wanted.
Yeah. Well, and then after our night at the Sandman on our third day, we had one of our favorite wine tasting experiences, right? Which was a little bit unique. We went downtown to a little town of Windsor, which is also a cute, like little walkable town with a town square, and there are a few tasting rooms there. We really had no concept where we were going, so we thought we were going out to like a
winery.
A winery. With, we're going to walk along the vines and all of that. And then we pulled up to a tasting room, and first we're like, oh, okay, it's just a tasting room. But they had such a neat concept, and I think you should talk about it because you really, really love this concept.
Yeah, well, I'm a dog owner, so anyone who's a dog owner right now, make this a must visit. It's called Mutt Lynch Winery, and it's a tasting room there in Windsor, so not too far. I don't know, it was about, half an hour drive to maybe not even, maybe it was shorter than that. Maybe it was 15 or 20 minutes from our room in Santa Rosa. And it's just really awesome because we talked to the owner, Chris Lynch, and his wife, Brenda Lynch, is the one who started Mutt Lynch Winery. And she was just kind of in the, wine business in Sonoma County and stuff, and just wanted to kind of be almost, I'd say thumb or nose at the ostentatious, attitude about wine and wine tasting, and just wanted to kind of create a more approachable wine. And they ended up putting, like a dog on the label and just kind of making it all about like mutts and mutt lynch. And so I just think it's amazing because their tasting room is, first of all, just a great boutique gift shop. So if you're a dog lover, you're going to find 8 million things that you need to bring home to your furry family member. But I also loved that each of their wines all feature a, kind of dog themed name. And then the labels are all so unique. They have like artist series. And then they also have charity series where if you buy that bottle, a portion of the proceeds go to the, charity of choice that is being represented by that. So I just really appreciated talking with him. And I mean, it's not very often that you get to, sit down, and then Brenda came, she was busy, but she came to meet with us. And so it's not very often that you see, the actual winemaker and her husband there willing to meet with customers and talk to you. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. And one of the well, first of all, the wine was very good.
Yes, the wine was, that's the other thing. The wine was amazing. Yes, it was.
Because sometimes when it has like a bit of a kitschy type of theme to it, you wonder. But it was very good. But then if you join the wine club, there's like one level of the wine club where you also get a dog toy with every shipment, which I just thought is so cute.
It's amazing. I still have my pamphlet because I want to do that. Because, you get your wine, and then your dog also gets a little goodie in the shipment as well. And I just think that's awesome. And if all dogs are welcome, and they have like one of the, wine tasting staff there that does the tastings. She had her own dog on site. So if you want to meet a dog, a lot of times there's a dog there, but you can also bring your dog. And while you're doing your wine tasting, they let dogs have a little like treat taste test. And so they give dogs 3 treats that they get to try. So you might find your dog's favorite new treat if you're traveling with them. It's definitely, dog welcoming. And I think that's cool.
They laid out the different treats on like a wooden cutting board or plate that looked like a dog bone, right?
Yeah.
And then we took pictures of it, and then we left it sitting there, and I kept like finding myself almost like reaching over. You know how just like when snacks are in front of you, you just kind of like reach for it. I'm like, no, that's a dog treat. Like don't eat
They're
that.
probably. It seems like they have some pretty good high quality dog treats though, so they probably are edible for humans as well. You know. But I definitely think that Mutt Lynch was awesome. I think it's worth a visit, and if you have any kind of soft spot for dogs, then I definitely recommend going there. And like you said, the wine was great. I loved everything we tried. So I think that's good that it was memorable.
Yeah. Well, then from there, we headed out a little bit out of town to the Corbel champagne cellars. So most people have heard of Corbel. And so they have a really, a large property. They do public tours there all the time about their history and all of that. But they also have a deli on site. So like a little market deli. So we had lunch there, and we again got to sit outside when we had lunch, and you had like an amazing pulled pork sandwich, right? That was so good.
And then we shared a little charcuterie board of sorts.
Yeah.
Like we had half sandwich and then shared a charcuterie board, and it was amazing. It was really good. I liked that. I think the only thing that would have made it better is looking out over a vineyard or something, but it was nice to again eat outside. I'm wishing I had that right now. It's chilly and but that was awesome. And then we did a wine tasting, which, I guess I
champagne.
don't. Yeah, champagne. Sorry. I guess I don't think of it, how many different types they have. And seems like it's a kind of a fun little thing if you like champagne to get a try. They let you pick you get to pick 4 or something, or 3. I don't remember now.
Can't remember if it was 3 or 4.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And they have also like another little boutique gift shop there. And like you said, the free public tours that happen, I want to say they happen a few times a day. So you can probably find one that you can catch on to if you, are just showing up.
And I want to give a shout out to our listener, Martha. Martha was on our podcast. Was it last year when we had some of our listeners come on and share their trips? Yeah. And she actually lives in that area, which it would have been so nice to meet in person if I wasn't like dying and I felt bad enough about like trying to keep my germs away from you. But she also says that when she has visitors come into town, she will bring them out like to Corbel, and then where we went afterward, which is the Armstrong Redwoods State Park, and then they'll go out to like Bodega Bay by the beach. So I'm like, oh, it's so good to know that like that would be a normal kind of route for people to do.
That's good. Yeah, I loved that Armstrong Redwoods. So after Corbell, we headed over to the Armstrong Redwoods State Park, which I'm a huge Redwoods fan. And I didn't even know that this little area existed, kind of in the heart of wine country. So it's another place that if you can't make it up to the Redwoods National Park, that's, up north, then this would be a good way to get a taste of it, especially since Muir Woods near San Francisco is limited. You have to make reservations to be able to get in there now. So, this was great. We were able to park and then just take a little walk. And both of us got those cute photos of us with the roots of a huge tree that had fallen over. And they have a little area where you can step up next to a tree, and kind of Tamara did this pose and then I did it. And then I didn't tell you this, Tamara, but my friend actually was in the area and he went with his brother and they went and he did a mimic photo and sent it to me of him posing the same way on that tree. So I definitely recommend that. It was beautiful. I find that getting in the Redwoods also just kind of relaxes me. It's kind of my happy place. I don't know. There's a sereneness there that is really nice.
Yeah, it's very quiet, and it just kind of quiets your mind because, you're just in this like quiet environment with these, beautiful tall trees, and you just can feel like the age around you. And, it has a little bit of that like magical feel to it. I tried to relate it to Lord of the Rings and that just didn't work for you. But, but I could tell that you were in your happy place, and it was so nice to see because you were just like, I love them. And it's I know that I can get like that about some things. So it was really nice. So I enjoyed our hike through there, and there were a couple different hikes that you can do. Very simple, easy to follow the trail, nothing too challenging. So, a nice way to just kind of enjoy those redwoods.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they have like a ridge hike, which I think is a little harder, that you can go, up if you want a little more harder of a hike, and you kind of go up off the floor.
Yeah. So. And then we ended that day. We spent the next couple of nights at the Flamingo Conference Resort and Spa. And I've actually stayed there before with Glenn and Hannah. And I'm glad to hear that they're going to do a renovation next year because it needs it. But it does have a lot of good features because it has like a really nice pool area and there's a full service restaurant. There's supposed to be like a top of the line like spa and fitness center. Yeah. So I think that those things, are really good, and it's very centrally located and all of that. So like it makes it very good for families, but it could definitely use a little bit of a refresh. So I think for people that are planning in the future, when that renovation happens, and then I would definitely, recommend to stay there.
Yeah. And being a conference center resort, they've got a lot of rooms. So they probably have some good rates if you're not there on a conference, when there's a conference going on.
Yeah, exactly. Although on the weekend, there probably are a number of weddings. Which we saw,
true.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Well, on that night, we went into downtown Santa Rosa, right by the old courthouse square. And we were kind of shocked because we were looking for where this place was, but it's called Perch and Plow or Perch Plus Plow. I don't know. I assume you say Perch and Plow. And it's located kind of in this doorway, and then you go up a set of stairs, and it's like an upstairs kind of almost hidden dining area. And I thought that was a really cool space. I loved it. It's one of those, it definitely seems like the place that people go for after dinner drinks. They've got a really long kind of elaborate bar and some, open space tables, and it was
a lot of small
nice.
Plates and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although we were there fairly early, and I remember hearing like some kids crying. So it was definitely like, kids are there. So it's not like, it's only go for cocktails.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Just, families go a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. But
although they did have really good cocktails, right?
They
had
did.
That one that was like spicy. Oh, I loved it.
I loved that. I could have kept having
to recreate that one.
We need to look at the menu. I want to have that, and now I'm already dying for it. Yeah, that was a really good cocktail. Yeah, it was like I don't even remember now, a spicy margarita or something.
Definitely not margarita because I don't drink those. But I took a picture of the menu. I'll have to look it up because it was yummy.
It was delicious.
Yeah, and I had a really good salad that was good. And I think both of us ended up being like too full. We ordered like a couple of things to share, and then we ended up canceling the other because we were just getting too full.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that was a good little thing. And then kind of finished out our evening, and our next day we finished up kind of adventure-y fun thing that I think both just really love. And we went on a ziplining course through, it's called a treetops course with Sonoma Canopy Tours. And so it was a little bit of a drive to get out there. And, once we made it, we hooked up and went off on our adventure. And it was amazing. They were all new redwoods. So it wasn't old growth redwoods. It was like a forest that had been forested long, long ago, and these new redwoods had built up, and you would go, zip line, you'd end up on the platform and they'd be like, guess what kind of tree this is? And, it's like, oh, it's a redwood tree. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was fun. What I liked about it especially is that it was like a canopy tour. So you were in the woods. You're going across, the treetops sometimes or through the trees, and they had, different types of zips. And I don't know, I find those ones that are kind of like tower to tower, like boring. I know it sounds so privileged, but it's like when you've been ziplining a few times, like you're like, okay, so I really like one where it's about the environment and not just the zip line experience. But it was also good because they had two like rope suspension bridges and one spiral staircase. So, it added a little variety.
Well, and then you get the big, you get a rappel off the tree to end the day. And I think that freaked a lot of people out.
Yeah. Well, I've never rappelled before. I've always wanted to. And it's one of those things that once I was then faced with doing it, I'm like, oh, wait. I'm fine when I'm going down, but like, how do you actually step off this thing? Yeah, but it was actually pretty easy because it was pretty much like lean back, like almost sit back, and then they'll start, they like lowering you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like rappelling either because you didn't use your feet at all.
Right.
You just kind of had to have the faith to sit back and let them lower you down. So
yeah. I kind of thought it would be like rock climbing where you're kind of bouncing against the wall, with your feet up. So, but yeah. Yeah, I think that was fun. That was a good way to kind of cap off the trip and balance out kind of the girls trip and kid-friendly type of stuff that we were doing. And you and I always like to add a little bit of adventure to our girls trips. Like we're definitely not about like just sitting around the spa, although spas are very good.
Yeah, I wish we would have done a spa on that trip. It would have been good. But yeah. I agree. It was good. I always like to have adventure with the side of good food and spa. So,
yeah. And we had a nice lunch. We went to Hop Monk Tavern in Sebastopol. So it's a brewery, but they have this great outdoor space where you can see that they have live music and other stuff going on at different times. And I thought that was a good change because really like Santa Rosa in that area, like even though it's wine country, there's a lot of breweries there too. Yeah. And I mean, we went to Russian River Brewing on our first day for lunch. So it's definitely like a craft beer scene, ciders, there's a little bit of everything there.
Yeah. 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 I thought Hop Monk was great. They have a lot of good, kind of unique, good appetizers and menus. And they had like seasonal stuff too. So I thought that was cool. And I enjoyed the time there. And then after that, we headed and relaxed for a little while and got ready to go over to a very unique event that only happens, once a year, I think. And it's the grand tasting at the Sonoma County Harvest Fair. And so what you do is you pay one fee. And when you walk in, you're given a wine glass, and there's wineries from all over the region. I mean, I don't know. How many wineries do you think were there? I mean, it was...
Yeah, I think that there were over 100 wineries, and each of those wineries had multiple wines. So there was a lot of wine to drink, but there were also craft beer places there, and a cidery, and some food.
And food.
Remember those amazing cookies?
Yeah.
We had like such good cookies. What were they, like lime tequila?
Yeah, I want to say lime tequila. That might be it. Yeah, good. They were like sugar cookie, almost lime tequila snickerdoodly sugar. I don't know how to explain it. They were really yummy. And they had there was some chocolate and ice cream. Yeah. It was amazing. It was a great experience. I definitely recommend it if you're there when it's happening.
I liked that instead of having to worry about like, oh, you have this many tickets to use or you have to pay at every booth. I liked that it was just like you pay one price, you go in and you just sample what you want. And it really allowed you like a lot of freedom. But I will say, go early because there's a lot of wine to drink, and the later it gets, the drunker people get.
Yeah, people get a little crazy.
Yeah, so
and definitely make sure you
eat it early.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's a good idea to eat something right before you go. because there is snacky foods there, but and they give you they give you a roll, a big hunk of bread roll when you walk in along with your glass. So that should tell you guys something that, they definitely, they want to make sure you have something in your belly. So I would recommend. Yeah. And Uber, we did that. So we Ubered in and out. So that was nice. So anyways, yeah. And then we finished out with dinner right nearby, again, downtown Santa Rosa at Bistro 29.
Yep, which is a little French bistro. So we, again, had sampled a few things, so we weren't super hungry, so we didn't have like their big entrees, but you and I both, it was so funny because you and I both like sat down, looked at the menu, and you were like, what are you going to get? And I said, and then you were like, oh, I think I'm going to get the same thing. It's funny because you always think that we should try different things so we can compare and write about it and all of that, but we're like, but that's just what we're in the mood for. So,
yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, we had the shrimp, whatever.
Yeah, like a little prawns and garlic sauce or something like that. Yep.
So
then we went over for our nightcap at the Jade Room,
which was really cool space. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, really cool space. I liked it. It was at that point a Friday night, so they did have a DJ playing, but it still had a lounge feel, and the DJ was like more background music. Like you and I could still talk, and as a middle-aged woman, I like that, right? Because I just don't like to go to a place, sometimes Glenn and I will go out to dinner and we're like, oh, do you want to go get a drink afterwards? And we're like, I don't know. Like, I don't really need another drink. I don't need to like shout at you. Like we could just go home.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Well, I think both of us had kind of hit that. We were getting, we were leaving dinner going, oh my goodness, we really have to go have this nightcap because they had scheduled it. And we're like, okay, let's just go and we'll just, hop in and get a feel for the scene and stuff. But then, because we had a long day, zip lining and lunch and then wine tasting and then dinner. But we got there and it says a lot that both of us sat down and just kind of relaxed, and we actually really enjoyed the space. And like you said, the music wasn't, it was definitely like poppy, clubby feeling, but not overwhelming at all. So I thought that was really nice that we kind of just enjoyed it, and it surprised us because
I really like the vibe there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So anyways, that was it. There we go.
Yeah. We talked about a lot of things, and we kind of forgot to mention, but our trip was sponsored by Visit Santa Rosa. So basically what that means is that they flew us out there and put us up in the hotels and arranged our activities so that we'd be able to write about it. So like when Kim says it was scheduled, like that's what she means.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get, it's kind of nice because we, in some ways it helps us determine kind of some of the popular things to do because the destination knows what people really like and what normally is a hit. And that's what they like to show. So we get to do the research, and they kind of help put together a schedule that.
Yeah. Like we tell them, we want to do an adventurous thing, whether it's like a bike tour, a zip line, or something like that. We kind of give that direction of the types of things we're interested in, and then they help scope it out and arrange it for us.
Yeah. Like we said, we wanted to do some wine and beer. So it was nice that they found that for us. So anyways, yeah, it was a great trip. I think it was nice. I think that, the weather is so nice, and it's kind of a good little escape and pretty easy to get to. And overhead wise, like there's not a lot of parking fees, and it's not a big city feel. So I think it's nice that it's just relaxing in a way, and just kind of a good kind of, destination if you're just. And even,
and my airfare was pretty cheap from the East Coast too. It was under $300 on JetBlue, which is nice. And I really can't fly to Florida for that. So, it's definitely, it gets, it's fairly affordable in that way, surprisingly, because you think about like when people talk about Napa and how expensive that area is,
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing saying you can't drive up and do wine tasting in other areas and all of that, just as long as you have a designated driver and stuff, and have a good time, go explore the area.
So you probably heard about the forest fires that were happening out in California a couple of weeks ago. But the good news is everything that we visited and talked about here are all doing fine. They're back up and running. And so it's really a great time to go out and visit, support the area, and bring some of the tourism dollars that they need back into that region. So we hope that you plan a trip to Sonoma and Santa Rosa. And in the meantime, we are going to be taking off next week for Thanksgiving, and we hope that everyone has a good holiday if you're celebrating, and we will be back in December.
We'll talk to you then. Thanks for joining.
Bye.